Hi, my name is Mike. I am the producer at Torchlight Productions Recording Studio in Bealsville, Maryland. And today I want to talk to you briefly, I'll try to keep it brief, about what I call the element of surprise in a song. And what that is, it's kind of self-explanatory. You want in a mix, in a song, from a producer standpoint, production standpoint, you want to create these little surprises throughout your song, throughout your track, because the goal is to keep the listener's interest. And one mistake that some recording artists and producers make is that they give you everything right off the first downbeat of the song. You know, it's like, bam, you're in, everything's in. Lead vocalist, backup vocalist, keys, drum, everything's in at one time. You get my point. So what you want to do, and what happens is that winds up playing throughout the entire track. You got to, what you start off with is all you've got all through the song. No little tricks, no surprises, and it makes for such a boring song. I mean, if you want to hit a potential hit, that's not the way to do it, because after 3, 4, 5 minutes, you've lost your listener's interest. So you want to give them something to, keep building on the song and let your song evolve, and give them these little, it's like putting little pieces of candy on top of a cake, or sprinkles of ice cream, however you want, whatever analogy you want to use. But the point is that you want to keep your song interesting. You want to keep a momentum, and you want to keep, add these little things of surprise. So every song, of course, gets handled differently. Everything has its own, every song has its own different thing that you probably want to do in it. But for an example, you may want to take and start a song off with just percussion, and you have like doom da doom doom da. You got a beat running for a couple measures, and then all of a sudden, after a couple measures, you kick in the bass, and the bass, rides with the drums for a couple measures. Then all of a sudden, you kick in the lead vocal. So there's 3 elements of surprise right there that you just gave the listener. And we're only in the first, 12 bars of the song. You've done, started off with the percussion, kicked in the bass, they grooved together for a little bit, and bam, there's that lead vocal, which they've been waiting for, right? Of course, that's what they're waiting for, is the lead vocal. Unless, it's Beethoven or some different class, instrumental. But instrumentals are cool too. But it's the same approach. Whatever your lead instrument is in an instrumental, you do the same thing. You would, start off with something, and all of a sudden kick that lead instrument in, whatever it is. You still want to create these elements of surprise and this forward momentum. So another thing is like on a chorus or a hook, don't necessarily bring in, if there's some good harmonies, don't necessarily bring them in on the first chorus of the song. Let the lead vocalist maybe take that first chorus by themselves. So when the next chorus comes, the listener is going to expect to just hear the lead vocalist bring that chorus in. What you do is on the second chorus, you toss in a real cool harmony part, and have that come in, the listener like kind of, whoa, that was cool, wasn't expecting that, and if you have a second harmony, bring that in maybe a little later. So like I said, you want to keep these little things happening throughout the song. Might put a vocal effect in there and just kind of add that a little later in the song, a real neat, reverse reverb or echo or delay or something like that. But just add it in. Don't run it all through the song. You don't want to overdo an effect. You don't want to overdo an instrument. Every little thing should complement each other, and just keep adding these little ingredients. When you're making I love analogies, right? They're not always great, but you're making a good soup or whatever, right? You toss in little ingredients at a time. You try it out. It needs a little more garlic or whatever, and just add these little ingredients throughout, and it makes a great soup at the end, right? And that's your goal. was a really corny example there. But anyway, you see what I'm saying. And another thing is, another trick that you can do is to pull things out of a song. So you might have a mix. You have some great backup vocalists. You run the mix, and all of a sudden you might just pull all the music out. Just music drops out. And then you have the vocalist do some a cappella, just some nice, real cool harmony. And then maybe, and of course, you bring the music back in. You could also end with a cappella, depending on the song. Another thing is to have a groove going, and music's all there. Pull everything out except for the percussion and the bass. Let that ride a little bit, and then bring everything back in. So modulations. That's another key, is to maybe a song, if it doesn't have much movement in it or something, toss in a modulation. Go up a whole step or something. So these are little tricks that you can do to make your mix, make your song more interesting, and that's key, because you want to, you don't want to bore your listener. Another thing that I want to address is overdoing an effect or a lick or something like that on a guitar. You might have a real cool effect that you throw on a vocal at a certain point in the song, maybe as it's coming into a chorus or a hook. Got a neat little effect. Maybe the guitar does a real neat bend or something like that, and the listener's like, "Oh, I love that!" Next hook or whatever, chorus comes back in, it's there again. So now the listener has started to look forward to this note or this effect or whatever that seems to happen at a certain point throughout the song. Well, then you take it away from them. A lot of this is actually, psychology. It's a lot of it's psychological. So what you want to do is you give it to them. They want it. They love it. They expect it. They want to hear it again. You take it away from them. So what that does is they want to listen for it. They're listening for it again. They want to hear it again. So after a couple passes, you throw it in again at them. And it just you want your music to breathe. You want it to have character. You want the listener to get excited about it. It's about the experience, not just the song. It's about creating an experience for the listener. So that is my little video, Production 101. And hope you guys enjoyed it. I see I'm almost at 8 minutes, and I didn't want to go this long. Peace, love, happiness.